Hey guys, welcome back to Ben's Fabrication and Welding. Today's video I'm going to be going over a project that I'm building for the shop. It's to replace something that I already have, and it's going to be bigger and better, hopefully. That's the point of why I'm building this. I'm not going to reveal what that is until the end of the video. For one, try to keep a little bit of suspense to keep you guys watching, and two, to explain the process in which I am building this project. Um, so maybe you can use this video on your own and you could build one for yourself if you need one. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get into the video and start the process of building my project. Hey guys, so what I'm going to do here is cut the angle iron from a bed frame. That's going to be most of the material that I'm going to be using for this project. And the reason why I'm using bed frame is one, it's really cheap, readily available. Most of the time people just throw it out and don't want it kicking around in their garage or their house or whatever. So they generally just throw it out. It's not that great a material to work with, but when it's free, you can't really argue with it. So that's why I use it for a lot of my projects, free. So, but anyways, what I'm doing here is I'm cutting the ends off instead of using my angle grinder. And what I'm using to cut that off with is my Welder 55 amp plasma cutter. And this particular machine that I'm using is actually a newer machine. The last one I had was an older model, and it actually died on me. And Welder sent me out a new plasma cutter, which was awesome. Customer service, top notch, not gonna lie. But I won't get into too much of that, only because I'm going to do a review video on both of them, and that will come out at a later date. But yeah, so anyways, basically what I'm doing is prepping all the metal to be used in its angle form. So cut off the legs, cut off the ends, grind down any of the little nubs or anything like that that are pressed into the steel, prep all the ends and do all that stuff. I'm not going to talk throughout the whole video. What I'll do is I'll explain little bits here and there, and kind of just go through the process of building what it is that I'm trying to build. And at the end, I'll reveal exactly what it is that I'm actually building. So yeah. So once I get a set of angles uh, all prepped and everything, I'm gonna go ahead and measure them out so I can cut them to length to start building what I need to do this project. There, for these two pieces that are on the table right now, there's just enough material to cut 4 pieces with a little bit left over, and that's going to be a square for the top piece that I'm going to use on this project. I have to give myself some credit. When I finished building this table, I knew it was going to be a pretty cool table to use, but I really didn't think that it was going to be as good as it was, honestly. I work in the steel industry, and we don't really use these tables too often, but I really wish they would, because it comes in so clutch when you're trying to do work like this stuff like this, because you can use the clamps, you can use the slide clamps. There's little pucks that you can use, as you see here, to rest the stuff against. Like, there's just so much versatility in these tables, that it came in so clutch doing this project, and I hope to do many more projects with this table, and hopefully they come out pretty decent like this one did. I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. This is honestly probably going to be a part 1 of part 2, only because the application that I use to edit these videos can only hold so much, and also my phone with editing all the videos and all that stuff. So yeah, this is going to be a part 1 of part 2. So I'll go ahead and I'll say that right now. As you can see right here, I'm measuring out so that I can fit the top into these 4 pieces that I cut out. Towards a little bit later in the video, you'll see that measuring twice, cut once comes into play, and everyone's human. I'll be the first to admit that this isn't the first mistake that I made on this project, but I was easily able to rectify it and fix it very quickly, and it didn't actually hinder me that much later on into the project. So as you can see here, I grabbed the piece for the top and it did not fit. So I went and did my measurements again. Yeah, I ended up measuring the outside instead of the inside, which threw me off like 3/16 of an inch, 1/4 inch, roughly. Basically the thickness of the metal on each end. So unfortunately I had to cut it apart and almost start over from the beginning, which in a sense kind of hindered the project a little bit, but not too much, like I said. So I was able to rectify this relatively quickly and get it put back together, and it fit pretty good, as you'll see in a little bit. So basically how I ended up rectifying this was I cut off one side, got it free, put that piece back in with the other 3 sides still attached, and basically just tacked that 4th side where it needed to be to fix it. Yes, there was a little bit of a gap, but nothing a little bit of weld can't fix. That's the upside to doing metal work over woodwork. If you cut too much out for the wood, guess what? Can't add it back. You're gonna start over. Metal, you can fill it right in. Most of the time, you're never even gonna notice that you cut too much out. So, honestly, that's why I like doing metal work over woodwork 99% of the time. Just for that simple fact that you can add what you accidentally cut out. If it's too much, obviously, then you're gonna have to cut a piece to fit in there. But in this case, I didn't have to do that. So luckily, it was just a minor mess up, and I was able to fix it. What I'm doing here is I'm actually checking to make sure that it's square to the piece, and it actually came out within a 1/16 of an inch, which was more than tolerance for me in this project. Like I said, this is just going to be for the shop. It's replacing something that I already have that has gone beyond its use, and I need a bigger one. So if you do happen to guess what it is, I'm not going to tell you whether you're right or wrong. I'm just going to wait till the very end and then reveal it at the very end. So if you do happen to guess it, I'm not going to say yes or no. So, but this project did come out pretty good so far, and once this half of the video posts, you guys will probably be seeing half the project already done. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm just prepping the inside of the tray to hold that top piece in. I will add a cross piece to the top of this just so it can support the full weight of what it is that I'm trying to put on top of this thing. So when I'm all done, there will be a cross piece, and you will see more of it go together as I get further into this. Right now I'm just kind of cleaning up all the welds and getting it prepped. So eventually when I'm done, like in here with the top, it will get a sanding and then a coat of paint, just black paint. So the top is pretty much 80% done, minus the cross piece that I didn't put in yet. So right here what I'm doing is I'm prepping the next pieces to be put in for the uprights and kind of the bottom square of the project. So here I'm using a bandsaw stand that I built a while ago. It's not that great of a table, but it gets the job done. I'm not really too concerned about the construction of it. It holds my bandsaw, and I can use it as like a little table. And instead of making a bunch of sparks and fumes with the plasma cutter, I just decided today that I wanted to use that. So what I'm showing you here is the unsquareness of the ends of the metal. So if you measure from one point and it's giving you a different measurement, and then you measure from another point on the piece of steel and it gives you another measurement, that means that it's at a square on the end. And that's exactly what happened here. So I pulled a measurement from each point on its specific point on the metal, and it gave me a different measurement, which in turn I had to take the pieces and grind the ends so that they were all the same length. Because if you don't have the same length on your pieces, then it's not going to be square, it's not going to be the same height, everything's going to be off, and it's going to throw the whole project off. So all I'm doing here is putting the outside posts on and just making sure that they're square to the top. So when I go start welding it together and putting the bottom on, that everything is the same width apart, top to bottom. So when I go and put the bottom part on, that I'm not having to force each outside post to line up and be square to the top. And that's what the magnets are for. And that's what, so this tool right here actually is just a 5-in-1 tool, and it's to keep the spatter off the table, and it works so good. If you keep the end pretty sharp, it gets the little BBs from welding off the table, so that you're not working off of an unlevel surface. And actually, if you happen to scrape your hand on one of those BBs, it actually could rip your skin open. It doesn't feel good. So when I'm generally done doing a certain area, I'll just go ahead and scrape the table off with that 5-in-1. It works great. So if you ever build a table like this or have a table like this and you get those little BBs, it doesn't matter if you're using flux core or hardwire or TIG. Sometimes you will produce BBs with those different types of welding, stick welding especially. But you can scrape it off 99% of the time with just one of those 5-in-1s. And they work great. So just like I said, measuring the top and the bottom to make sure that they're the same distance for the outside posts. Because if they're not the same distance, top and bottom squares per se, it's not going to come out right and it's not going to look right. When you go to put in your other pieces for whatever that you're using for material to cover the sides, it's not going to be square, and you're going to end up having to cut irregular shapes, and that's never fun when you're trying to cut something that's supposed to be square that isn't square. Then you got to do a bunch of math to make sure that whatever it is that you're cutting out for that particular side it's kind of a pain in the butt. So measuring twice, cutting once, very good habit to get into for any project that you're ever doing. So basically what I'm showing you here is about 40 to 50% done. I think I already said that before, but I'm only about half done this project. And as you can see here, basically what had happened was there was a bunch of video that got cut out. Why it went from me in a sweatshirt to then me showing you part of the project, and then me wearing this t-shirt. So it kind of cut out at some point, and I don't really remember when it did, but I got quite a bit of the project done as far as like the welding and all that stuff. So, but there's still plenty of project for me to show you. So you really didn't miss all that much. Also, I'm not really sure what's going on with the video. It's kind of like it's in slow-mo a little bit, but it's not. Must be the editing software that I'm using on my phone to finish these videos, but it doesn't really hinder what I'm actually trying to show you guys in the project that I'm doing. Basically, after getting all the sides tacked and ready for like kind of final weld, I'm going ahead and measuring diagonally to make sure that everything is square. And that's what you want to do with any project that you ever have that you kind of need it square. And as you can tell right there, it's spot on. It's not racked or anything, meaning that it's one side to the other. So from there, I can go ahead and final weld and continue on with the project. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna basically wrap up part one, and we'll go ahead and finish part two. And once part two is done, I'll go ahead and post it, and you guys will be able to see the rest of the project and the final result.